Hey everyone, it's me and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another doll repaint. It's been a while, but I'm back at it for Christmas. Today's model is going to be this Abby Abominable doll. She's already snow themed, so I think she will make a great snowman inspired doll. This is a quick Procreate speed paint, I guess. It's really not a speed paint. It was just me doing some concept art for her character design. I'm not good at character design. It's not really one of my skills, and it's really tempting always to go with your first design, and that's kind of what I did here. I drew two versions of her outfit. I was already pretty settled on how I wanted her face to look, and I wound up going with my first outfit design anyway. So she's going to be wearing a coat with a snowman face on it. But the first thing we need to do before we get started on the outfit is to chop off all her hair, which is like the worst part, I think, in my opinion, because it's so gross. I don't really like hair in real life, and doll hair is no better. I sped this up for you and didn't even show you the whole process, but it's like just removing the hair can take almost an hour, if not longer sometimes. And as you saw in the concept art, I'm not going to be giving her rerooted hair or a wig or anything like that this time. This is me showing you how disgusting and sticky all of this junk that you can pull out of their hair is. And then of course we're going to remove her factory paint. I really like Abby Abominable's face. I think she's really cute. Basically all the Monster High dolls are really precious, so it always makes me kind of sad to have to take their face off. But I do feel like the repainted faces, and whether that's mine or anybody else's, always have a little bit more life to them than the original factory paint job. So we're just gonna be scrubbing that off with acetone. And after this, I washed it with warm soapy water, which I didn't show on screen, but just so you know, if you wanna make your own doll, after you remove the acetone, you wanna use soapy water to get that off. Now Abby had some yellow staining on her head, and we'll address that later, but for now we're going to get started on her outfit. I'm horrible at sewing, but these are the pattern pieces I came up with for her underdress, which you didn't see in the concept art, but I just didn't feel right giving her a coat with no clothes underneath. And I used my sewing machine for it, which I never do. This is the coat, and I'm going to sew along the lines that I'm indicating with my finger here to put the coat together. It looks really short, but I'm going to be adding a fur trim to it later. One of my big regrets with this project is that I didn't make the hood big enough, and I feel like you can kind of tell just looking at it here, but I didn't realize it until I was basically done with it. So it turned out okay, but if I had to do it over again, I would make the hood much bigger. And felt is a really great material for doll repainting and doll projects, I think, because it looks really cozy on doll scale and it doesn't fray. So here I am going to be making her socks. I'm going to give her thigh-high socks. In the concept art it looks like pantyhose or leggings, but they're just thigh-high socks and they'll be hidden underneath the coat anyway. The easiest way to do it is just sew it directly onto the doll. Next I'm going to be making shoes from scratch, which I've never done before, but I followed a delightful version of a Walker Colors tutorial from several years ago. And so the first step is to wrap the legs in aluminum foil, and then after that you basically make a paper mache cast around that to form the base of the shoe. And I'm just using scrap pieces of paper that I used to test out some of my alcohol markers in the past. So I just have these scrap pieces of paper lying around, and I thought, these will make a good paper mache base for it. It'd be better if they were plain white because the felt that I'm going to use to cover this is a little bit see-through, but in the final result I don't think you can really tell, and you wouldn't notice the stripes poking through unless you really were up close and personal looking at the doll. And this part was actually really fun. Making the shoes was probably my favorite part of this project. Now that the glue is dry, I'm going to try and carefully cut these open with a X-Acto knife. Now you may be thinking, why did you leave the socks on if you're going to be coming at it with a knife later? Well, part of the reason for that is that you want to make sure that these shoes will fit over the socks, so you have to leave the socks on to do it. And these were what I was left with. These are basically the shoes, and now we're just going to create the appearance of them being boots. So I am gluing the same felt that I used for her coat over it to be like the fabric of the boot. And they kind of wind up looking like hooves in the end, which wasn't necessarily my intention, but I'm also not complaining. I think that the hoof look is actually really cute. I was debating whether or not to go back and add a heel to the back so that they wouldn't look as hoof-like, but the longer the shoes sat without heels on them, the more I became attached to them and thought that they looked cute just the way they were. So I didn't want to mess with them anymore and risk ruining them when I already liked how they looked. I just kind of accepted the fact that they look like hooves, and actually I really kind of liked the end result. So basically I just glued kind of the edges and then tucked all the ends under the toe, and then I'll be adding a sole later. And I finish off the shoes off camera, so I don't show you me hot gluing all of the rest of like the detail work on, but the most important part is just this fabric layer that you kind of have to stretch and glue over the cast that you make. Okay, and so for the coat, coming back to it, I added these details to make it look like a snowman, and now I'm ready to move on to the face. So obviously I sprayed the face with Mr. Super Clear before getting started. Sometimes you can go directly onto the face without doing that first, but it's easier to work with if you use Mr. Super Clear. And I have these like cheap watercolor pencils that sometimes work pretty well, but on this one they just weren't showing up on it at all, so I had to use these Prismacolor watercolor pencils, which always show up. And now I'm using pastels to kind of contour the face. I don't want to make her look super chiseled. I want her to look a little bit more rounded, and Abby has a kind of square and angular face, which I love, but I didn't want to accentuate that necessarily this time around. Now I'm on the second layer of Mr. Super Clear. I actually only used 3 layers on this doll, maybe 4, I guess, if you count the gloss layer. But this is the second layer. I'm doing more pastel work. I'm trying to brighten up her skin a little bit by adding white and then warming up her lips and her cheeks just a little bit. See, I used purple because I didn't want to take away from her blueness because she's cold, right? She's a snow girl, so I went with purple so it wouldn't be too pinky warm. The most satisfying part is definitely when you go in and pencil in her eyeliner and her eyelashes. That's my favorite part of the face up, probably. I didn't do any complicated makeup design on this one, like I didn't give her any eyeshadow really or anything like that, because the eyes themselves were going to be the main focus. So I went with this really graphic eyelash look where it's like the whites of her eyes seep into her lower eyelashes, and I thought it would look like kind of the fractals of a snowflake. I was originally going to put a snowflake pattern as her pupil in her eye, but I wasn't confident that I could get the detail work fine enough with like my brush skills, so I left her irises as they were without any pupils in them, but I did make them hexagonal, which is what water crystals become like when they freeze, is they're in like kind of hexagon shape. So if you see snowflakes, they always have 6 points on them, and so that's what I went with. And then I decided to outline her eyes with silver paint to kind of make them stand out a little bit more. And when I wiped away one of the mistakes, there was a little bit of silver flecks that smeared across her cheek, so I actually thought it looked like really cute highlighter, so I kind of did it intentionally on the second cheek. And I'm just adding some white highlights here and there to the face as well, and giving her some snowflakey freckles. That's basically the face complete. At this point, we're going to go ahead and give her her hair. Like I said, I'm not doing a wig or rerooted hair. I'm painting her scalp white to kind of serve as her hair. I mean, she's a snow woman, so she doesn't really have hair, but this is like the suggestion of hair. And these glitter particles are going to be like her hair. And I loved this effect. I thought it turned out so cute and festive and sparkly. She sheds glitter a little bit, but I did 2 layers of glitter, and the first layer of glitter I sealed in with Mod Podge so that it wouldn't budge. So it's pretty solid and pretty permanent. So even if she sheds, she's got 2 layers of glitter, so she'll be in good shape. And I'm glittering up her eyebrows too so that they match her hair. And the final step of her face is just to paint the gloss onto her eyes. I was hoping that this would kind of cover up some of my paint strokes from the acrylic paint, because I didn't want to keep going over it and over and over it to kind of try and hide the paint strokes, because if you do that, then it gets thicker and thicker and thicker, because acrylic paint, you know, it has some weight to it, I guess, so it doesn't dry completely flat. But it didn't really hide them all completely, but she still turned out okay in the end. And now I will show you exactly what she looked like, all dressed up and ready to go. All in all, I really like the way that she turned out in the end. I think that my sewing skills really did hold me back on this project, but the overall effect was super cute, and I love her kind of graphic face, the way that her eyes really pop, and she just looks very cold and snowy and wintry, and I think it's perfect for Christmas, even though I don't live anywhere right now where it gets cold around Christmas, but I'll just live vicariously through her, I guess. Thank you so much for watching this video and for sticking with me through 2021. I will see you later, and I hope you have a great Christmas. Bye!